G'day, welcome to Scrounger's Workshop. Thanks for dropping by. Been waiting for this to turn up in the post for a while. The post, you just put it on the doorstep, didn't even knock on the door. Just got a text saying it was here. Can't really blame him though with the virus, got to be careful. Well, let's cut it open and see what we've got. It's very small. Well packed. Wow, that would have to be the smallest bench vise I've ever seen. In pretty good condition. I think it'll clean up well. There's no maker's mark on it, that's a shame. Now for those of you that don't know how to measure a vise, they're generally measured across the jaws. That's how you tell how big it is. This one comes in at 2¼ inches. That's tiny. So let's have a closer look at this thing. See how much damage there is. There's a few nicks and scratches here, a bit of a hole in it, a bit of a fault in the casting there. Generally pretty tidy though. It's very light. All the castings are quite thin. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't been broken already. But anyway, we'll get it all apart and give it a good clean up. See how she ends up. Again, no maker's mark, but it's well made. It's a very well made little vise. Don't know why you wouldn't put your own name on it. I must apologise for some of the camera work. This is my first video for YouTube, so I will endeavour to get better as I go along. So please don't criticise me too hard. In really good condition. All the threads are good. Nothing's damaged. Hasn't done much work, this little thing. Okay, now it's all apart. Into the degreaser. Wash all the gunk and the grease off it. Then we can really see what we've got. Get a better idea anyway. Notice that the degreaser started taking the paint off it. Weird. Okay, here we are. Post degreasing. There's a few faults. Not too bad. A bit of weld spatter. Pretty rough casting. That's another casting fault. Nothing that's not fixable though. A bit of welding and a bit of grinding. Should come up alright. Yeah, that'll fix up good. It'll be a nice little vise when it's finished. Yep, alright. Let's get serious. Let's get the rust and the paint and the crap off it. I'll see you in the other room. Okay, we're into my favourite part. I always degrease first because you don't want to get grease and oil in your blasting media. It just contaminates it. But the sandblasting really gets in. Just enjoy watching the rust and the paint just strip off it. This is pretty mild media I'm using. It's about a 60 grit. I'm going to change it out for 30 grit. A bit more aggressive. Works a bit quicker. It certainly gets into all those nooks and crannies. You're not left with any little rust spots hiding in holes. And if you're wondering what this is, just have a look at, just go to the very end of the video and have a look. I'll explain it there. Just left this in for you people that like to watch sandblasting. Some people find it really interesting. And if you want to hear how loud it is in there, I've just left a bit in with the noise. Okay, here we are out of the sandblaster, and there you really get to see what the castings are like. And look what I found after sandblasting. There's a little T in there. I don't know what it means, but if you've got any ideas, I'd love to know in the comments, please. Good casting. That threaded hole's right in the middle. They've hollowed this out. I don't know whether it's to save money or steel or make it lighter. Did the same on this jaw. Good casting. A few nicks and scratches will need welding. Yeah, straighten that out. This will come up like new, probably better than new. I'll get a mirror finish on that. That won't do. I'll have to get rid of that. I'll grind that out. And overall, not too much work, couple of hours. I'll get this sorted. These little pads here, they're machined after the vise comes out of the mould, and it's to hold the sliding jaw fairly snug. Stop it wobbling around too much. Good sign. Well made vise. A lot of the cheapies won't have that. So now we'll get on with the repairs, the welding, cleaning things up. Just going to use a standard 0.8mm mild steel wire, and you can see it welds to the cast iron quite well. Because it's only spot welds, it doesn't damage the cast iron, and the welds can't break because they're just filling holes. There's a few on this slide I want to fix. Once they're all ground down, you'll never know. Especially if you want to polish areas, you really need to weld it. So I think there's one more on this corner I'll fix. And that'll probably do it. So here we go. It's been ground down. All the holes have been filled. I think I'll polish these reinforcing ribs. They'll look good, nice and shiny. That's been hit with a belt sander. It's cleaned up, the jaw's cleaned up. You can see the marks in the surface there. That pinhole will have to go. I can't live with that. But you'll see the marks in the cast iron from the heat. Sometimes you get a little pinhole in the mild steel welds. You just see those marks from the heat in the cast iron. You won't see them when it's finished though. So with all the welding done, it's time to hit it with the grinder. Use the wheel to get rid of all the big lumps. And it's onto the belt sander. It's a 4-inch wide belt on there. But I can also run 2-inch belts on it. It really gives a good finish. You see that back? could do that with a hand grinder or a file. You just can't get the same quality of finish. Unfortunately, it can't get in everywhere. So where it can't get to, I'm back to using a file and sandpaper. But that's not bad. Not bad at all. I've also decided to polish this bottom edge. I think it'll look good all polished up and shiny. So now that's finished, I get into the first stage of buffing. These are nylon pads. That's an 80 grit. The white one on the other side is a 320 grit. And they really give the steel a good finish. Almost moulds the scratches together. I'm pretty happy with it. So I hit it with the 80 grit first and give it a good polish. Now it's over to the 320 grit. Makes a big difference. Look at the finish on that. All smooth, nice and shiny. Haven't even hit it with a buffer yet. That's just those two nylon pads. They do a really good job. Now that's done, I get into another really enjoyable part, and that's the final buffing. This really gives it the high shine that I'm looking for. So the first wheel here is tight cotton, and I use the rouge on that. The wheel on the left, on the far side, it's tight cotton, there's absolutely nothing on it. It just gives it the final polish. Look at that. I think it looks almost like chrome. Very happy with it. So you can see the difference between the polished and the non-polished. I'll give that edge a good polish now. This, I think, gives a good idea of what I was thinking when I was first sorting out what I'd polish, and the way the reinforcement will blend in with the base. Just make the whole thing look a little bit nicer. So here we are, all the polishing's finished. Time to mask it up and get some colour on it. This is also another chance to decide how shiny you want it, where you want the paint, what do you want to highlight. You see a bit of filler there on the side where my finger is. I was going to paint the whole side of the vise, but I think I want to add a little bit more shininess to it. Just having some fun. I mean, if you don't like it, you can always repaint it. And vices are like clamps, they're very utilitarian. They don't get much love. So I don't think there's any harm in brightening them up, making them look a little better. So that's it, all the masking's finished. Bit of a wipe down with acetone. You notice I masked up the pads that the moving jaw slides on, because if you don't, when they get paint on them, they'll be very sticky. That'll make the device more difficult to use. Yeah, I've got an idea how that's going to look. So let's get some colour on it, eh? So here we are blowing the colour on. I'll do some more detail in powder coating in another video. Got all the colour on it. And then it's bung it into the oven. Funny green, isn't it? So here's that pipe I sandblasted. Just going to hit it with some satin white. Makes a very good primer, helps the top coat pop. Nice bright colours, helps make them pop. And I tend to try and save up 2 or 3 jobs at once if I'm sandblasting and powder coating. Just use less resources, don't have to heat the oven twice, don't have to run the compressor twice. Now I just need to finish this handle. You can see I forgot to record the beginning, but the 2 ends are different. So it's time to fix them up and make them the same. These nylon buffing pads are very good. I'll strip the metal off there, no problem at all. I use that post or metal pole to stop the grinder spinning. Just leans against my hip. Give the whole thing a good polish on here. And then back over to the buffer. Now the final assembly, put it all back together. I usually treat the polished parts to a bit of cheap automotive paste wax. Brush it on, buff it off, stops it rusting, keeps it looking shiny for a long time. And here's the finished vise. So here it is all finished. I think it looks nice. I'll add it to my collection. If you've got a 2.5 inch vise, you don't need it anymore and you're willing to part with it, let me know in the comments. Maybe we can make a deal. I'd desperately like to get a 2.5 inch Wilton bullet vise, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm also looking for a Carter 2.5 inch vise. If you happen to have one, let me know. Thanks. So here it is, ready to go with the other ones I've done. The 2 at the very back are still waiting to be cleaned up, but I quite like them. I hope you like them all too. For those of you that saw me sandblasting that orange tube before and wondering what it was, I made this tool for camping about 20 years ago. I've done it in hot pink so I don't lose it, and that's what it's for.